Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today we're going to talk about the absolute craziness that is coming out, clips that are recirculating about Congresswoman Cori Bush, a congresswoman who I've never been a fan of since she rocketed to fame based on the lies of Mike Brown that now, over 10 years later, or almost 10 years later, she's still lying about, but now she's actually in trouble. She's actually facing a legitimate primary challenge her, and the knives are out for Miss Bush. The clips are circulating, and today we're going to talk about not only the clips themselves, but why they're coming out. Now, before we get into this, thank you to everyone who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
So look, right off the top, I have to be perfectly honest with everybody out there in the audience. The reason why these clips of Cori Bush, some of which are years old, are circulating in the media is because Cori Bush is anti-Israel. It is just a fact. These clips have been out there. They were basically covered up by the left-wing media, but this particular issue has created a divide between certain interests in the Democratic Party and other interests in the Democratic Party, so now the knives are out. But to be clear, I don't feel bad for Cori Bush at all whatsoever. Because while a lot of people out there in my audience might say, hey, you know what, Israel has too much influence on American policy, so I am very concerned about that, and that is a concern that you would share about any government that is exercising influence over the United States government. To be clear, Cori Bush is anti-Israel because she's anti-American. She hates that country because she sees it as a proxy for the United States of America, an outpost of the West in the Middle East. So even though you might arrive at the same conclusion, when we go to the show your work portion of that, you actually realize that you are very distinct from one like Cori Bush. On top of that, the person that's running against Cori Bush, again, fully honest, full disclosure, is a man called Wesley Bell. Now, presumably, he would be more tolerant toward the Israeli cause than Cori Bush. However, Wesley Bell is essentially somebody who is aligned with Cori Bush on very many issues in that they both won their initial election. He's the district attorney for the area that covers Ferguson, Missouri, which was the Michael Brown lie. Now, Wesley Bell, unfortunately, was elected as a district attorney, and when he tried to reopen the Brown case, he discovered that the evidence of Officer Darren Wilson not only acting fully within the parameters of the law was so obvious that he had to do a press conference essentially saying, there's no way I can charge this officer because the Michael Brown myth is just that. But now that we got all that stuff out of the way, let's go to this clip from, again, October of 2022 that is only now recirculating, where Cori Bush claims to be a spiritual healer. And no, I'm not joking about this.
You're a pastor.
Yes.
You write about healing through faith. At one point, you came across a woman with, quote, several visible tumors on her torso. Tell me what happened.
So right off the top, I'm a little bit worried. First of all, Cori Bush describes herself as a pastor in her book. Secondly, this PBS newswoman appears to have a copy of this book, and considering only about 1,000 copies were sold, this is quite troubling because she seems to be the only person, or people in the media seem to be the only people who have actually read the damn thing. But then we hear about how Pastor Cori Bush believes in the power of spiritual healing. Now, I know I have a lot of religious people out there in my audience. I know a lot of people believe in the power of prayer, and I just want to make this 100% clear to all of you out there in the audience. While I might have my disagreements with you, especially in this particular realm, the fact of the matter is, this is not what we're talking about with Cori Bush. Cori Bush is claiming that she heals with the hand of God herself, and this example from her book is evidence of that. And we are going to watch her say this to this PBS woman, to this liberal journalist, and I just want you to imagine if this were anybody on the right saying something similar, how they would react to this in the mainstream media. Do you think it would be buried for up to 2 years without anybody really commenting on it, or do you think it would be crazy Christian right-winger is insane in every possible way? Legitimately think about that before we roll into it.
So at that time, I, along with a group of friends, we would go out on the street and just meet with people and pray with people and offer them food. And this lady came to us and she had these tumors. I mean, she wanted us to like feel them. And I just remember I put my hand on her and my hand just began to move. And the lumps that were there were no longer there. And she was so happy and she like went on about her day. And I never saw her again.
So I just want you guys to understand that this is a real video. This was uploaded in October of 2022. This was something that she said leading up to her election in November of 2022, another election as a congresswoman, and she won. She said that she was out there on the streets doing the good work, doing the work of God and whatnot, and she was giving out food to the homeless people. She was helping them out, and then a woman came up, and this woman was so cancer-ridden. This woman was so sick, so dilapidated, so ill that she had visible tumors all over her chest. But then she said, Cori Bush, Saint Cori Bush, the voice of God, the hand of God herself, can you come up to me and touch your tumors with your hand? Lay thy hand on my wounds. And as Cori Bush did that, all of a sudden, her hand started to move. It just started to go. It was like, oh my God, it was happening. And it moved across the tumors. And as this was happening, guess what? The tumors, they went away. And then this woman, as soon as she came in, much like the way she showed up out of nowhere, disappeared, and Cori Bush never saw her again. This is the story that Congresswoman Cori Bush wrote down in her book and was asked about by this PBS journalist, and then she reiterated in this interview, and she actually expects people to believe that. She actually expects people to accept this as fact. And here's the crazy thing. Everything Cori Bush just said, absurd in every possible way, insane in every possible way, ridiculous in every possible way. Had she said it to the same PBS reporter and had an R next to her name instead of a D next to her name, guess what? She would have been hit with an aggressive follow-up question. The reporter might have specifically accused her of making this up, referred to it as a preposterous notion, as she should have, but guess what the follow-up is right here.
So you think the tumors disappeared?
I do. And this woman was unhoused. She's someone who, had been sleeping in the shelters and sleeping on the street.
So she's like, and you believe that this woman was healed by thy hand? And she's like, I do. And by the way, this woman who came in, asked me to feel her tumors, and then disappeared and was never seen again, she was unhoused, which, is their code word for homeless, because, they want to take away the responsibility for people's lives from them and put it on broader society. And she was sleeping at the shelters. And all of a sudden, I have all of this backstory for this woman who popped into my life, was healed by me, and I never saw again, but now I have the background information for this totally real and legitimate story, again, of me having the hand of God and actually being able to cure severe cancer tumors that were clearly and obviously protruding from this woman's body that I cured in an instant with the touch of my hand that just started moving on its own.
If I can speak a prayer, and I can believe what I believe, and you believe that this will help you, then why not offer that to people? Because I know prayer has helped me.
Now, again, this, I guess, counts as a Mott and Bailey, where she says something completely absurd, like she has the power through black girl magic and through the hand of God to heal somebody with cancer, and now she's retreating to, oh, I believe in the value of prayer. So, like, that's what's happening right now, based on the light, not even real challenging from this PBS anchor, but you can understand why people should have reacted to this clip, as it is insane way back when, but now it's recirculating that the knives are out for Cori Bush. But it actually goes a little bit further, because our little journalist over at PBS is maybe, just maybe, and by maybe, I mean not really, gonna give a little bit more pushback, and I want you to see this and how Cori Bush also dodges this particular question.
As a trained nurse, you're a member of the medical community. How do you think about those spiritual healings versus medical healings?
Yeah, spiritual healing it's a part of what you believe, and the medical healing it's a similar thing, because I'm going to believe that this treatment that this doctor is giving me is going to help me in my situation. And so as the nurse, I am following the doctor's instructions and giving them whatever the doctor says that they should have. And also for those patients that would say, would you also pray with me? I would pray with them. And so it's the same thing that I would do on the street.
So this answer, if you just kind of gloss over it, sounds perfectly reasonable because, again, she's doing the Mott and Bailey thing where she's saying, or at least starting out with the position, that she can heal cancer on her own with the touch of her hand. But then she's saying, look, as a nurse, I just did what the doctor said, and if a patient asked me to pray with them, I would pray with them. And, that sounds nice. That sounds wholesome. But then when you think about it for more than half of a second, you realize that she equates the two, her godlike healing powers versus the medical system, and you would wonder why she would believe in a treatment that was prescribed by a doctor when she herself, through again her own magic, black girl magic, can lay her hands on tumors and make them go away in an instant. Again, this is the most insane thing I've heard from a member of Congress in a long time, and to be clear, the Republican Party and members of Congress in the Republican Party often say absurd, ridiculous things that they cover in religion, even though when you talk to people who are like biblical scholars, they would consider it to be ridiculous as well. But Cori Bush got a free pass from this for almost 2 years. For almost 2 years, this interview basically got no attention. This video on PBS has almost no views, even though she just equated her power of spiritual healing to the medical system. And I just want to point out that this was in 2022, tail end of the pandemic. Remember what they said about how the Democrats believe in science, they believe in the medical system, and the Republicans are religious wackos who believe in voodoo and all that. And guess what? Well, they didn't say voodoo because I'm sure they'll say, well, voodoo's a cultural thing, so that means it's better than Christianity, but they believe in Christian spiritual healing and speaking in tongues and all that. They're crazy, but we, the Democrats, are the party of science. Well, look at what's going on right here with Cori Bush, one of the dumbest members of Congress, somebody who still lies about the Michael Brown case, somebody who was caught funneling her campaign funds to her boyfriend, who she ultimately ended up marrying, under the guise that he was security for her, while she simultaneously hired additional security and faced almost no consequences for it. And she's talking about how she could heal the sick on her own. And this is somebody that we're not only supposed to take seriously as a member of Congress, but we're supposed to look up to her and worship her as if she is quite literally the hand of God according to her. This is how these people think of themselves. Absurd, insane, ridiculous.
What do you say to people who are likely to disbelieve that story?
They're not the woman that had the tumors.
Yeah.
So again, listen to the soft way these questions are asked. What do you think about people who are likely to disbelieve that story? And Cori Bush says, they're not the woman with the tumors. And that is true because the woman with the tumors is made up. She didn't exist. You didn't heal her. That's absurd in every possible way. Let me be clear about that. But yeah, that's just how she drops it. She then pivots to Michael Brown so Cori Bush can lie about the Michael Brown case. But I just want you guys to see this video. I wanted it to be captured and encapsulated in my video because even though it's circulating on social media, the original interview gets almost no attention despite the fact that it is completely insane.
Because I talk about it multiple times in the book about, my voice as a black girl or black woman being disrespected in the medical field.
And again, I will also add that this reporter from PBS, horrible in her follow-up questions. Horrible that she just let this slide. And even though this clip is circulating, the original video only has 3,100 views over the course of 2 years. So obviously it just didn't grab anybody's attention, despite the fact that it's insane in every possible way. But this is what the Democrats are pushing on you. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of that school in Massachusetts that they hired like this woman to do DEI, and she ended up hiring minorities because they were her friends, but a lot of the minorities weren't into the LGBT stuff. So what ultimately ended up happening is that you had conflict within the Democratic Party as the beliefs of the minorities that they're propping up, a lot of them are ridiculous, and if they were said by a white person or Republican would be treated as such, but they are tolerated and accepted and approved and considered just as valid as any other set of beliefs despite their ridiculousness because they came out of a left-wing minority's mouth. So that's what's happening right here. You're seeing the soft bigotry of no expectations from this PBS reporter because she doesn't think Cori Bush, even though she's a nurse, even though she's a member of Congress, should be expected to not tell ridiculous stories about how she can heal through the hand of God, which she possesses, or ask her to prove it on another patient. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me showing you what Cori Bush actually believes about herself. Till next time.